Today we will be talking about finding volume of pyramids. First, I would like to note that pyramids are a third of a prism. I would also like to review that we talked about finding volume of prisms previously, and we found that a rectangular prism volume equals length times width times height. Then we talked about triangular prisms. Volume equals length times width times height divided by 2. And we do this because a triangle is half of a rectangle. So now we are going to look at finding volumes of corresponding pyramids. And again, we already noted that a pyramid is 1/3 of prisms. So we can take volume of pyramids and I do solve the formulas a little bit different. So the volume of a rectangular pyramid would be volume equals length times width times height divided by 3. We divide by 3 because a pyramid is 1/3 of a prism. For triangular pyramids, its volume equals length times width times height divided by 2 and 3. And we do this because a triangle is half of a rectangle and a pyramid is 1/3 of a prism. We'll go ahead and note that we divide by the 2 because triangle is half a rectangle, and we divide by 3 because a pyramid is 1/3 of a prism. So then I could actually rewrite the formula so that it is the length times width times height divided by 6. Let's practice some of these examples together. Example number 1, it even tells us that it is a rectangle. The rectangular means that we are doing length times width times height. The pyramid means we will be dividing by 3 because it is 1/3 of a prism. So, if the volume is length times width times the height divided by 3 because it is a pyramid, 3 and 2/10 times 1 and 4/10 times 2 and 8/10 equals 12 and 54/100. We divide by 3 because it is a pyramid. Therefore, the volume of the rectangular pyramid is 4 and 18/100 inches cubed. Are there any questions about finding the volume of rectangular pyramids at this time? Are there any volunteers to come work number 3? Do we have anyone who would like to work number 4? Remember, number 3, it does say it is a square pyramid, but we know that squares are also rectangles. So for a square pyramid, we would do length times width times height divided by 3. We have length times width times height because it is a rectangle, divided by 3 because it is a pyramid. You have the length of 1.5, the width of 1.5, the height of 2, divided by 3, which would give you 4.5 divided by 3, and the volume of the pyramid would be 1 and 5/10 inches cubed. Number 4, it says that it is a triangular pyramid, so we know we are going to be doing length, width, and height divided by 6. This 6 is broken up into dividing by 2 because it is a triangle, divided by 3 because it is a pyramid, and 2 times 3 equals 6. So we would do the length of 9 times the width of 9 times the height of 15 divided by 6. That would give you 1,215 divided by 6. And the volume of this pyramid would be 202.5 inches cubed. Are there any other questions about finding the volume of rectangular and triangular pyramids? Are there any volunteers that would like to work number 5 as well? Number 5 does have a tricky piece of information in it because they tell you that each student deposits a colored cube with a side length of 1 foot into each pyramid. It's actually pretty interesting because it only being 1 foot, meaning that it's 1 unit. It would be a little bit different if maybe they had said it was a 2-foot pyramid or a 3-foot pyramid. We would then have to divide by this number, but since they used 1, then we are able just to find the volume of the pyramid to determine how many students are in the school. Remember, to find the volume of a pyramid, it is the length, the width, and the height divided by 3 because it is a pyramid. It does say that it is a square, but remember, a square is a rectangle. So we should have multiplied the square. That means all sides are the same. So it is 12 times 12 times the height of the pyramid of 17 and divide by 3. So it's 2,448 divided by 3 for a volume of 816 or 816 students. Let's take a look at the next set of examples. These are worked a little bit differently because we are now given the volume and we are finding the unknown height. On 6, 7, 8, and 9, this is where the formula becomes very important, that we need to remember that to find the volume of a rectangular pyramid, we are going to write volume equals the length, the width, and the height divided by 3. We then need to substitute the information they are giving us in the problem for the volume, length, width, and height to determine the unknown. It does appear that we will be looking for the height, so our variable that we're going to be finding is h. They give us the volume of 90 cubic inches. So where I see V in my formula, I'm going to write 90. The length, remember I always use the long side, so this is the length of 9. The width is 5. The height is what we are looking for. This is divided by 3. We are then going to be solving the equation just as we did in Chapter 6. And I remind you that we did talk about this in Chapter 6. So the whole idea is to get the variable by itself. Therefore, if you choose, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the equation so that the variable is on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side. So I would do 9 times 5 times height divided by 3 equals 90. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this guy over here. And we know that the original operation is dividing by 3. So technically, we are going to multiply by 3 so that we get these two cancel out. And I get 9 times 5 times the height equals 270. I know that 9 times 5 is 45. Now I can divide both sides of the equation by 45. These cancel out, and 270 divided by 45 will give me a height of 6. Let's take a look at number 8 next and see if we can practice this again to make sure that we understand the process. Checking out number 8. Determine the height of the square pyramid given the following dimensions. So again, it's a square pyramid, which is the same thing as a rectangular pyramid. Therefore, volume equals the length times the width times the height divided by 3. They give us the volume of 225, so I'm going to put that here. It is a square pyramid, so that tells me the length and the width are the same. And it says it's 5 inches, so I would do 5 for the length, 5 for the width, and the height is what we are looking for. This all needs to be divided by 3. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around so that it's easier for me to work. So I have 5 times 5. I can go ahead and combine these if I choose to. So 5 times 5 is 25 times the height divided by 3 equals the volume of 225. And then the next thing I'm going to do is multiply each side of the equation by 3, cancel these out. So I have 25 times the height equals 225 times 3 is 675. And then I will divide both sides of the equation by 25. And our height is equal to 27 inches. Are there any questions about finding the height when given the volume? Let's take a look at finding the height of triangular pyramids now. We know that the triangular pyramid formula is volume equals length times width times height divided by 6. And so again, we are going to plug in the information that is given to us to determine the height, just like we did with rectangular prisms. The only difference is we are not going to be dividing by 3, we're going to be dividing by 6. So let's go ahead and plug in our numbers and see what we can do. So we are given volume of 80. We know by our picture here that the length is 12, the width is 4, and the height seems to be what we're going to be finding again. This all is divided by 6. So I'm going to, again, rewrite my equation because I like to have my variable on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 12 times the 4. We know that that is 48 times the height divided by 6 equals 80. I know I need to multiply both sides of the equation by 6 first. These cancel out. I'm left with 48 times the height. And I want you to recognize that 48 is kind of like the length times the width, or the area of the base. 80 times 6 is 480. Oh, this one's simple. We like these. Then I need to divide both sides of the equation by 48. And the height of this pyramid is 10. Are there any questions about finding the height of triangular pyramids? Let's take a look at number 9. Number 9 says to determine the height of a triangular pyramid given the following dimensions. The volume is 56, the base edge is 8, the base height is 7. So I know that this says base and height, but it's kind of the same thing as length and width. So the formula is volume equals length times width times height divided by 3. And I told you a minute ago that it is very important for the formulas to be written at this point because we need them to know where all of our numbers go. They give us a volume of 56, so that's 56 equals the length and the width of 8 and 7. We're looking for the height, and this gets, oh, look at that. I wrote 3. It needs to be 6. Remember, it's a triangular pyramid. So this needs to be a 6, and so does this. If it's a triangular pyramid, you are dividing by 6, and that is an easy mistake to make. So let's make sure we're paying attention to these details. I need to pay a little bit more attention as well. So now, again, I like to rewrite them. So I have 8 times 7 is 56, so I have 56 times the height divided by 6 equals 56. I know that I need to multiply each side of my equation by the 6. That leaves me with 56 times h equals 336. I can then divide each side of the equation by 56 and know that the height of this pyramid is 6 meters. Are there any other questions about finding the volume of pyramids or finding the height given the volume?